Hello, Shameless Writers. I'm Kristen McTiernan, the nonsense-free editor, and it is that time again. It is time for an expert interview. And this week we are going to be talking to marketer Nick Pecone. Now, Nick is a unique case in that he is an expert marketer, but he is also a part of what we will call our community. He is a Dungeons and Dragons aficionado. He is deeply entrenched in comic books, role-playing games, video games, all of the kind of like nerd stuff that is more tangential to what I do and that I get a lot of questions about and can't answer. I've spoken a lot about how traditional publishing houses and really traditional media as a whole really has kind of turned their nose up at a good portion of people who would like to be creative. In a lot of cases, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, you can point to where someone is the wrong race, the wrong sex, or the wrong sexuality, and they don't really get admission into the club because of those factors. But in talking to Nick, I found out that actually, even if you have all of those things, it might not be enough anyway. And that really the only path forward, if you are a truly independent creative, and you know exactly what you want, and you don't want to compromise with somebody just because they're dangling purse strings in front of you, you really do have to go out on your own, which means marketing on your own, which is really the scariest part for most creatives, because it isn't itself an entirely separate skill, something Nick does comment on. While most of you who watch my video fall into that creative camp, we want to create, we don't want to market, Nick came to the opposite conclusion many years ago, in that he likes creatives, but he wants to be on the marketing side, which works out really nicely for me because then I got to sit down with him and pick his brain and find out all about how he can help you. So without further ado, here is my interview with Nick. I think you'll enjoy it. Okay. Nick Pecone, who is a marketer, who is a D&D aficionado and a big part of the Iron Age movement. Very glad to have you on. So let's get into the Iron Age, because people are not on Twitter, or if they're not really active online or they're just getting online, they may not have heard of the Iron Age and what it means and who it's for. So can you walk us through that? What is it and how did you get involved and what is your contribution to it?
As a contribution, mostly I'm a fan. The whole thing was I was listening to Nerdrotic's podcast a number of years ago, and Razor Fist, he mentioned this thing, we're in the Iron Age of media. Then we've entered a place in history, and this even goes broader than like this independent media sphere, but corporations have wasted whatever goodwill they've had. Like for years, big business has been a thing, but I don't know anyone left, right, center that trusts any major company in any way. So it does us no good. Like how many books does like Trad Pub put out every year, and almost all of them fail? They're hoping they get one to offset the cost. Why would you ever throw yourself into that system? So Razor Fist mentions this idea of we're in this place. I've been a musician my whole life, so the idea of DIY has always been in my blood. Like I come from punk rock. Let's go start a band. Let's go print our own albums. Let's spray paint our own t-shirts if we have to. Find a way to do what we're going to do. So that ethos has now moved over into other artistic spheres. And being a marketer and a shill, I'm like, okay, how can I go make money trying to help people do this? The difference for me is that I didn't make any money doing that because I'd rather be friendly with people and I'd rather listen to stories and help educate. So what I did was I started Iron Age Marketing as a way for creators to go through and talk about their experiences bringing a book, comic book, whatever it is, to the masses and what worked, what didn't work. That's a good place to start for anything, right? And for 2 years, I ran that podcast, had lots of discussions, and made myself a part of this little group of people. Now, people think of it as a group, but I have since day one said, no, it's not a group. It's a time period. And there's this new world where there's so many ways to release in your art DIY that why is anyone even bothering to do like the trad pub of anything? Like, why are you looking for a record deal? Why are you looking for most of even like the combination authors that I know, people that still do Trad you still end up doing the marketing yourself one way or the other. Like you might get a little bit of a budget to do it, but it's your responsibility. You'd think that's like part of the process is them providing you that, but no, it's here, you do this work and hopefully it works out for you and maybe you'll get paid at the end. If it's a maybe I'll get paid at the end sort of situation, then like, why am I not trying to throw all of the chips on myself? Early on, I did have a young Black woman as a guest And what's really terrible is listening to her account of trying to get published and find someone to publish her book because, as she put it, there wasn't enough of her blackness in her writing, which is, but I don't want my blackness in my writing. I want to write fantasy stories about
Mhm.
magic. And we're sorry, we're looking for more authentic. Yeah. And to make, I hate using it all because I don't know, it feels very pandery to use the story, but it doesn't matter who you are, it screws over everybody. Like the whole system is designed to screw people over. Doesn't matter if you're part of the in crowd or the out crowd. It's just where the chips land as far as that goes.
And I tell people, because as an editor, people will send me, okay, my manuscript is done. I'm not even sure if I need an editor. I want to get signed to a publisher. Can you help me do that? And I'm like, darling, no. And no other editor can either. They can't, there's no amount of tweaking that will align your book with what this particular agent, because there's a message and they're looking for a book that fits that
Mhm.
message. And if you have the proper identity, or they can squiggle you up a bit. It's like, could you get yourself up a little bit? They have a message, they have a mission, and they're just looking for things to fit into their club. It doesn't matter how good your book is, unfortunately.
There's a certain degree, it doesn't matter how good anything is. Listen to pop music, most of it sucks.
Right.
But it relies on the fact that if you listen to things enough, you start to find them familiar, and familiarity breeds likeness. If you listen to a song 3 times, it becomes familiar psychologically, and you like it by default. So there's a
Yeah.
certain degree to which marketing is a lot of just getting shit in front of people to where they start breeding that familiarity and it becomes a part of people's world. It's why I tell people it's all about building relationships, and that's part of the first relationship is becoming familiar with someone and go, hey, I know you, don't I? You start there. Authors, musicians, you trying to pick up a girl, like it's all ultimately the same thing. Like you're trying to get people to notice and care or give a shit about you.
We had that discussion. It was on Twitter because it was about author John A. Douglas, and he went mega viral, and people were making fun of his book. And they were like, oh, Orc City, that's crap. And they were quoting his book. And it was originally something he said something about an animator or a comic book guy. I don't know. But it went hugely viral, and he played along with it. He didn't get upset. He just kept reposting it and everything like that. And another author asked, a lot of people don't like him and they were making fun of him. Does that help? And I'm like, he's a name now. People know who author John A. Douglas is.
It's
And
terrible marketer. I still haven't released my episode I did with John Douglas because it happened at a weird time in my career. But you know what's terrible about that is that John Douglas knows that people hate looking at orcs, especially in the sphere he's in, and he wrote a book about orcs anyways. Like he knows that they're presumed to be evil, and he said, "Screw it, I'm going to do what I want it to do." Even if the people in my own circle don't like it. And moreover to that, like he's also savvy enough marketer that like he just does what he knows gets him clicks. Like he's not stupid enough to care. Don't you can't invest yourself in the world of Twitter. You can use it by all means. It's a tool. Have at it. And if you can take the slings and arrows, like I don't mind being called names. My wife would never do what I do on Twitter because she's too nice of a person, doesn't have the constitution for that world. Part of that is understanding like this is a marketing tool. I'm going to use it how I'm going to use it. And John is such a great example of someone who understands the tool and is completely confident in being the person that they are. He's not pretending anything. If John was smart, look, he would have wrote a book where orcs are evil and a bunch of people kill them. But that's not the book he wanted to write. He went for authenticity and said, "No, I think whether or not you like orcs this way, this is how I like my orcs. Deal with it."
exactly. It's just like people can't buy your book if they don't know it exists, and they don't want to necessarily buy an indies book if they don't know who you are. And that's really what I'm seeing. The people who are most invested in the indie space are the ones who they're not necessarily authors themselves, but they know who the authors are and they like the brand that they've created. They like the voice that they have in whatever medium they're in.
So one of the things that I get into with my clients and any discussion I'll have with anybody, by the way, you can go to my website right now. You can click on, I can't remember what I call it, but build a session, whatever it is with me. I'll meet you for free the first time because I just like helping people. One of the reasons I got into this whole thing is because I like science fiction and fantasy. And I just want people making more books that I might like. If there's a guy out there right now who's making a book that could be my favorite book ever, but he might give up on it because his first book failed, I would like to help him be successful enough to make that second book that I'm going to absolutely love. It's a complete ego move, frankly. But one of the things I teach people is that because when you pick up a book and you go look at it, I'm sorry, you can only tell the same story so many times. So what's the next thing you go to? Who wrote this book? What is the story they're going to tell? Or is there a way that I can connect with this person that's telling this story? So, like in section 3 of my book, The Role Player's Guide to Marketing, it should be out later this fall, is taking stock of who you are. Take a look at where you're at, look at the people around you, and look at who you are. One of the things that I've found so many people get caught up is, even especially in the Iron Age, we've got all these beautiful little people in our Iron Age movement that we all talk to each other and or build support. But if all any of us ever do is talk to other people in the Iron Age, guys, I hate to break it to you, you're trying to sell books to other authors who are bootstrapping their projects the same way you are and have just as little money to produce things as you're. So you're not hitting people that have disposable income to do what you do, more over the time to read all the things that you want them to read because they're writing. So I tell people, look at yourself, look at the people that you have things in common with. Say you work in IT. The world of podcasting is super huge now. So why are you not looking at people that are interested or do things that you do? Go find people in IT. If you're a mechanic, find a cool mechanics podcast where it's guys that work on cars, sit around talking about cars, and then you get to make that pitch at the end of go, hey, if you're interested, check out my book. Because you've now already endeared people. We already have this one area of connection. The more areas of connection you can build with somebody potentially out there, in fact, the more varied ways you can connect with somebody. Like you get 3 very wide, like far apart areas of connection. Someone's man, I have those 3 points of connection. Those are really weird points of connection to have with anybody. I'm really interested in what this person's doing. And to me, it's people just kind of glaze right past it and they're just let me talk to these same 20 people I talk to on Twitter and we'll pump each other up. And don't get me wrong, it's great to have the choir and get pumped up. But at the end of the day, you want to do this as a career, you want to do this as a money-making venture, you've got to find those other people.
Absolutely. Now, in talking about your D&D book that's coming out, I stumbled into the hornet's nest of
Oh boy.
independent comic book creators. I didn't mean to, because I am not in that world and my clients are not in that world, but I had the absolute audacity to make a video where I led in with Nerdrotic and his publishing version, and EVS and Dick Masterson and a bunch of those other people had things to say about me. And then
And they will.
I got introduced to the creators who are fans of these people. And a lot of the advice, they went back and they watched my old videos and they were like, this doesn't work and this doesn't work. But they're comic book and graphic novel publishers and creators. They don't do novels. So what do you find when you're dealing with a comic book or graphic novel creator versus a novel author? What are the differences there?
None. What I'm going to tell you is you didn't stumble into a comic book publisher's world because it's not what it is. They're a buyer's club. They make their friends and they tell their followers to go and buy the books. I've known people who've been inside. I've known people who are no longer inside. And guess what? You'll sell $120,000 worth of books when EVS tells someone to go buy your books. Because guess what? He was in the trad world. He was part of DC Marvel. He sold those big. He has a name. It's like any celebrity telling you to go buy things. And then he has the rebel celebrity status because of this. And when you step out of that, you don't deign to kiss the ring of the king. I've watched people who sold $100,000 in books sell nothing. They'll struggle to get 2,000 outside because it was never an organic build. It was strictly a buyer's club with somebody saying, hey, pick this up because we tell you to pick it up. And they'll raise big bucks if you're in that club, but you cannot believe ever that it's going to translate outside of that, sadly. Them, authors, musicians, I really don't see a difference. It's all about connecting with your audience and finding that audience. And you only have so many tools at your disposal to do that. Like, how do you put yourself in front of anybody? You find where they are and you put yourself there. It doesn't ever change. Like, the people that run Fortune 500 companies are still doing that same stuff. They just have a lot more money and usually teams of researchers to help figure that stuff out. I can tell you psychologically, like, that certain things you might be looking for within people, but I don't have enough money to go and pay an entire team to verify the 13 keywords that are going to trigger the exact person you want to buy your stuff. It's at a certain point, it's like If you've got enough money to waste, be Coca-Cola, by all means, do it. When you're talking with Indians, they just don't have that. I'm sorry you stepped into that hornet's nest though.
Oh yeah, that was I start noticing with the video the comments sometimes they don't like me and sometimes they do, but there's a particular type of person who finds my video, watches it and comments on it. And the comments I was getting, I'm like, what shenanigans is this? And then JDA was like, do you know that you're on Trash Cast? So I was like, oh shit.
Well, and yet here's another thing we were talking about either before we started or as we started about streaming and people that do live streams. That's all those people do is live stream.
Yeah.
So it's clearly there's an entirely different way their stuff works when everything is about click, send me money, that. They're not making videos telling you anything. They tell you right up front, Trash Cast. Like
it's right there in the name.
Yeah, it's there in the name what they're doing. They're there to trash shit. Okay, great. I have no time for that.
It's so fun. And and what I've found is a lot of the creative types, it's like they look at that kind of thing, especially if they've got 1 or 2 books under their belt they didn't do very well, but they have this mental block around promoting their work and they call it selling out. Oh, I'm not a shill. But this is your work and you've spent years creating it, and there's just this mental block. And I know that you've talked to probably a lot more authors directly about what has worked and what hasn't. What do you think is behind that? What is that?
I'm sure given what you do, you've read at least 1 or 2 sales books, and it's section 2 of my book. I had to do it myself. When you don't think of yourself as being worth it, it's all self-limiting beliefs. I don't see myself as an author, in part maybe because you haven't gotten the right people to think you're an author, or you haven't gotten the right people to sign off on you, or who am I to write books? But the bottom line is, you've ever read any sales books? One of the things they teach all of you is the only good salesperson is a person who believes in their profit or in their product. If you don't think that what you did is awesome, yeah, you're never going to want to talk about it. But if you can't believe that the thing you did is awesome, guess what? You're never, ever going to convince anybody else that it's awesome. Like, you have to be the engine that drives desire for that product. And you're trying to get that excitement into as many other people as possible and make it viral. And occasionally you'll find somebody else who gets super excited and get them working for you. But it's just a natural part of being who we are, especially unless you're a type A person who naturally craves attention. It's not built into anybody. Most of us are built into stay in line, don't get noticed, don't be the tall poppy, just move along, and maybe in some small world, my little desires and dreams will happen. Maybe not really, but I'll be okay one way or the other. So I'll half-ass everything I do and never put the energy into it because I don't want to fail. Like, fear of failure. But what does failure mean? Like, these are the terms you can define for yourself any way you want to. So I say start redefining things. Redefine everything. Redefine who you are. Redefine what success looks like. If your idea of success is that you need to make $10,000 in a book, most of trad pubs not making $10,000 a book these days, guys. So just to lay it out for you. When I first got into podcasting, you're making podcasts, you have a couple hundred people listening to an episode, and you think about it like, oh man, but what's that really? I see all these people have 10 million followers, Joe Rogan experience. But then I want you to think, but in how many experiences in life do you ever get 1,000 people in a room listening to just what you say, who show up every week? And if you can start pumping that up from a couple hundred to a couple thousand, have you ever heard of the 1,000 fans model? I think it's called
1,000 true fans. Yeah.
1,000 true fans. And if you get 1,000 people to donate pay you $5 a month, which is not an insane amount of money to pay for it. That's a cup of coffee a month. You're doing pretty well in our economy just off of that. So once again, it's boiled down to is you finding your people. You don't need to appeal to everybody. Just appeal to the people that are naturally going to appeal to you.
Absolutely. So other than the actual, okay, I have a novel, it's a lot easier to make that money with multiple streams of income. In terms of authors or comic book creators, what do you find are good additional streams of income that go along, that complement nicely an author or creator career?
I would just tell people to read your book for that, because your book laid it out very nicely in the table of jobs you could find to do it. But yeah, it depends on who you are as a creator. And because I come from the performing arts, that basically just means I'm a whore. And I will show up and do whatever in front of people because they're watching, whatever. What I mean is, I've obviously done cover bands for years because it's the easiest way to make money. You go up, spend a Saturday night, play a bunch of crappy pop music people like, and you get paid for it. I've never made near as much money in an original act as I've made doing that. But I've talked to so many artists, like, oh, dude, I could never go up there and play somebody else's music. And I'm like, but you could work in a factory, right? Where you make less money, you don't get to drink while you do it. And it's like not practicing your instrument. Like I go up there, I'm learning how to better perform, I'm making money, and I'm having just a good old time doing it. So why would I not do that? Some people can't extricate themselves from the idea that like when I write, it's art and it's this, it's that. It can be, but it's sometimes it could just be work. And if you have spent time to develop a skill set or could devote more time to that skill set, you're only going to end up being a better writer at the end of it. So you have these skills. Why not try and make money off of those? And like I said, your book lays out a whole host of great options. And yeah, they're not going to make you a millionaire, but they could be a nice secondary income. That could be the thing that funds the art project. And it would be weird and terrible, but I didn't have to pay for it, so it's all the better.
Right. I could never. Attitude is also what's driving along the bifurcation of the creator world around AI. There are some people and authors that are like, I don't personally use AI, which of course, no shade. If you don't even want to use it for brainstorming, that's cool, like total respect. But then there's that other faction who are like, not only will I not use AI, I'm going to make sure that you don't either. So what have you found around who is using AI, to what extent, and what is it bringing positively and negatively to the independent creator space?
So there's a lot of really shitty books written by people who can't write books. And frankly, being put out there. I can say this, that my book would not have happened without AI because I'm not a writer by trade. I'm a guy who likes talking to people. I like marketing and I like helping people, but to sit down and write a book is just time I never would have been able to find. I had what I thought was a really cool idea, and I used AI to help me flesh out my idea and work it into a workable concept. Maybe it's going to read as just, oh, it's just AI generated crap. And by all means, please tell me that if you think it. All I know is there's no other book like the books that I'm making out there. And I thought that there should be that book. People that love AI are marketers because in our job, it makes life so much easier. I can say this. Most people do not read your show notes for a podcast, but you need to have show notes for your podcast. So, as opposed to spending the hour writing show notes that I used to, manually transcribing my show and go, what do we talk about? Here's my notes. I can put it into an AI thing. And I have a whole program that I use. I take my transcript from every episode that I do on my podcast, and it'll spit out content for me from show notes, the email that I'm going to send out to my people. Now, am I going to post that exactly as it is? No, because AI is not awesome at doing a lot of things. But starting on your second draft of anything is one hell of a superpower. My ability to not waste the 4 hours that it would have taken me to write all of that content myself and have someone start me with, all right, guys, here's your stuff to say for this. It's giving you all the like little breakdowns. It makes the job easier. Like I get that like you're not going to generally get something as cool like you're talking, say, covers out of a Mid-Journey or something like that. But for that guy who has no money and no budget to work with, I'd rather he went and spent $1,000 to get a good editor, or frankly, an okay editor with $1,000, if we're being honest, than waste $1,000 on an artist to do a great cover for a book that's going to get to see the light of day for 10 people. And that's the reality that a lot of people are going to have to contend with.
So, as far as marketing, what is the one or two marketing mistakes that you see independent creators just making over and over? You just see author after author doing this crap. What is it?
The first big thing, not knowing who their audience is. How do you put this? That's what tanked most of modern media, like at the global level, is that Disney thinks apparently that blue-haired lesbians are their audience, and no, that's not their audience. Like when you start making comic books for that audience, you lose all of the people that look like me that have been buying comics dedicated for years. Okay, I'll buy books that are good, but when they cease to be good, I'll stop buying them. So the idea of I'm going to make the books for the audience that I wish I had as opposed to the audience that I have. Okay, you could do that. It's not going to work out well for you. Or at the very least is going to make your job a whole lot harder. And maybe you have an ethical and moral reason you want to do that. Okay. Just don't complain when you're no longer making the sales that you want to make, because that's how that ends up. The other one isn't so much a mistake. It's harkening back to what we said, is that section 3 of my book is a character sheet. And the idea behind the character sheet is, let's take stock of what we have here. The idea is, how many reviewers do you know? How many YouTubers, podcasters do you know? How many people in your family do you have that can help? And it breaks down hard numbers. And so then when you get to section 4, which is actual quests that I send you on, the idea is that you now have legitimate starting point. People never take stock of anything. You say, how much money do I have to spend on this? What does my war chest look like? If you don't ever look at, okay, how many people are on my social media right now? What does success look in 6 months with that? They're not taking stock of their metrics. And so the whole point of the book that I wrote is to trick people into taking stock of their metrics. It's, I'm going to give you a number go up scenario. Your goal is to make all of these 6/7 numbers go up. And we're going to give you quests, and we're going to give you tools to help you do that. But if you don't know where you started from, you never have any, there's no way to know what's working. There's no way to know what isn't working. Like, why am I wasting all of my time posting on Twitter and you're getting 0 engagement? Nobody cares, but you like to be on Twitter. Okay, if you want to do it as a hobby because you like being on Twitter, by all means. It's not helping you sell things. You may be surprised to find that, oh, these crappy posts I do on Facebook, there's more people on Facebook that happen to enjoy what I do. And so I actually end up making sales from it. Like, I had a guy a couple months ago who he complained that, oh, Facebook marketing doesn't work. I looked at his ad, followed the link, and immediately knew why all of his marketing wasn't working. Didn't take me longer than one click and reading. And it's because he's trying to sell a book. He's sending you to a book for $5. Okay. People aren't thinking about what an investment time is. Like, that $5 book, sure, it's a steal, but what's to make it any different than any other book out there? It's, to me, it's okay. So you jump straight from getting the coffee with the girl to, hey, you want to sleep together. Like, what you should have done, the smart thing, you send him, hey, give me your email and I send you a chapter. Doesn't cost you dick, but it gets me in your email box where I can now start building up rapport with you. You can learn a little about me. You can learn to trust me. You can learn to like me. And then we send you to the book for $5. At which point I've invested time. I now have familiarity with this person, and now I'm more willing to invest in it. Otherwise, it's like just trying to skip to sex on the first date, skipping past the coffee, and hell, skipping past the date. Just like, hey, let's go to bed. Maybe there's some great people out that are capable
I'm
of
in
doing
red
that.
pill spaces, and a lot of them actually do that. They're like, I'm not taking you on a date until after the sex.
If you can pull it off,
they're a rarity.
Amen to you guys. But the point is, it's like, you have to understand that you're building a relationship here. Even if it's with like other creators, like, there's a specific way you approach a creator. Shudder to think about the emails that you get from people wanting to come on your podcast, because I know some of the crazy crap I've heard, and I'm not a pretty girl on YouTube, so I don't even want to know. Do not.
Usually it's cringe, but not like terrifying. It's, they'll send me this huge unformatted blurb for their book, and then at the end be like, I know you would love to talk to me about your book on your channel. I'm like, do you hear me making book pitches, like direct book pitches anywhere on my channel? You don't hear that ever. And there's nothing in it for me that they even mention.
Well, so one of the things I do, so much of my business is centered around podcasting, because it's one of the great democratizers of this iron age of media, is that people can talk about crap that they want to talk about. And so there's so many people doing that. But oh my God, I get so many people pitching me, hey, I want to come do this. I'm like, okay, that's not the format of my show. So you're doing nothing. You could have at least listened. I have a format email that I just tell you what to fill in about a particular. And the important thing is if you do what I tell you to do in this email, you have a good chance of getting on pretty much any podcast, short of maybe like a Joe Rogan tier podcast. And even then, for sure, I'll say if you fill it out, you might be a guy he calls on a rainy day because their guest fell through. Who knows? But the idea is we have to remember what we're doing. We're not trying to sell to us. If you're trying to allow someone to utilize, you're trying to give them something for their audience. You're trying to create content for them. And so if you follow my email and you do what I tell you to, you're literally laying out an episode that is pre-made for them. All they've got to do is show up and frankly ask the questions that you've given them to ask. And it's up to you in that email to convince them that their audience would be interested in it. Now, unless you listen to the audience and listen to the show, and I one of the things I make it a point is, especially like there are podcasters and show people that'll go out of their way to do a different type of show or format their show differently. But you've got to make the pitch that it's worth it to their audience. So it helps at least like when you send an email, you go, hey, I know you don't usually do an episode formatted like this, but here's what I think it brings to the table for you. And for more importantly, the people. One of the guru guy that I follow in marketing, he's always remember viral has nothing to do with you. You're not writing for your audience. You're writing for your audience's audience. And it's the truth. People, if you write for your audience's audience, then your audience is obviously going to come back to you because you got them what they wanted.
Absolutely. So your book is The Role Player's Guide to Marketing. It's a D&D manual with character sheets and quests to teach marketing. Now, I'm assuming that this book is not just helpful for people who are in role playing or graphic novels or
The book will help anyone. Like the big conceit to me, there's a million books on marketing, but all the dudes I'm talking to, like there is especially in the iron age of media, there is a very typical type person, and that is the dad working a job, has a bunch of kids, has a wife. They're usually pretty conservative from my experiences because they're the ones that have gotten shut the most out of. Content is not currently being generated for those people. And so they want to step in. And these guys tend to be the dorky guys that I would have hung out in high school, as most of them have beer. But like when I learned about marketing, it was the book influenced by Robert Cialdini. And I'm not someone that looks at my life and goes, man, if I could just change this and this about my life, man, things would be great. The only thing I've ever said that I would do different in my life is if I could have gave 15-year-old me Cialdini's influence, like what that book did for me was it made it okay to not take things personally because you get into the psychology of how people make decisions in that book. And when you realize so many of the decisions that we make every day have nothing to do with anybody other than the weird stuff that's going on in our head or psychological processes that none of us have anything to do with. They're just things that like biologically have been ingrained into us over 10,000 years. And so you get to depersonalize yourself. You don't get to take things personally. It's like those guys that will land dates because the next no is just the way to my next yes. Like you don't take things personally. You just go, I'm going to find the person that does want to go hang out. And you don't have to feel like hurt by all that. And marketing is so much about understanding that psychology. And so marketing now is very different. It's about finding people that resonate with what you do. I mean, something being big is a negative. People want niche. People want made for me. I want to know the people making my stuff that it's actually going to help them. So that homesteader space has exploded. And the reason a lot of that is because, well, we're more than happy to spend money buying honey or buying whatever product from a homestead that I know and like the people that run it, as opposed to wasting it on a corporate. I don't even care if I pay more. The idea is that like I trust that I'm doing something good with my money. So if nothing else, making the book is a way to get that information to as many people as possible. And if at some point they sell that first book good enough, they got a budget on the second one, I'll be more than happy to help them better on the second one. They don't have to worry about the marketing of that. But we got to get them there first.
Yeah, and people think that marketing all looks the same way, and it doesn't. I mean, that sport drink company just went mega viral because they got a bad review for the taste of their drink because the reviewer said it tasted basically like what was in it, which is salt and lemon. And the social media post was, "You dumb bitch." And it went viral because people were like, yes, because they're so sick of these snooty mainstream people and they'd never heard of the sport drink. It's like lame name, whatever, but they're selling now because they just did something authentic and they were real about it and they didn't backpedal like Joey Swole. So it's like you don't have to. I always say you don't have to do the dancing TikToks if you don't want to. You can still get your face in front of people and you can still sell without being a pretty girl on TikTok.
Now, am I excited about having to say the word authentic as much as I say the word authentic? Because goddamn, it is a buzzword right now and it's everywhere. But it's the truth. It works because it's what people are after. It's like Brondo. It's what people crave.
I guess it's bad for our society that idiocracy references are everywhere and they're just so on the nose, they never miss. So if people want to find you, where is the best place for them to find you?
If you want to find out just about me and all the podcasting and music stuff I do, you go to nickpecone.com. If you're specifically interested in the book, go to roleplayer'sguide-to-marketing.com and that'll take you right to it. If nothing else, that should be the biggest lesson that I will teach people and everything is get your URL. If you have to send it to a Facebook, send it to a Facebook, but get your URL. Pay the $12 a year. I promise you it's going to be worth it. Even if you can't afford to build a website, just send it to whatever it is, a link space or link tree or whatever.
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much for having me, Han. It was a lot of fun.